Okay, this is an example of a passage that doesn't include any sentence-level transition words. So your first step is to read this passage and just take stock of how much work you have to do as a reader. And you might end up deciding, well, not that much, and that's in part because this isn't a difficult set of ideas. It's familiar, the idea of college being difficult and resources. It's not that hard to do the work, but hopefully you did feel that you were doing work. There was something that you had to figure out as the reader. So step number 2 is to add in sentence-level transition words that take that work out of the reader's hands. So it just becomes clear how one idea relates to the next. And the way to do that is to ask yourself what the relationship between two sentences is. So sentence 1 is identifying a problem or a challenge. It's difficult to decide on a college. Number 2, most school counselors provide students with resources. What is the relationship between a difficult decision and providing resources? Well, if this is the problem, this is a solution. This problem is the reason why counselors provide resources. So you can put in a couple of different things here. You could put one solution to this problem is to provide students with different resources, or in order to solve this problem, most school counselors try to provide resources. Or we could just go with something simple. For this reason. Most school counselors try to provide students with different resources. Okay, next sentence. They include assessments and college brochures. What is the relationship between counselors provide students with different resources? They include assessments and college brochures. So these are examples of resources. So we can make that relationship clear in a bunch of different ways. We could say examples of such resources include assessments and college brochures, or we could just add in examples include. Point being, we've identified that these are examples of this. Now, how about this last bit? This isn't the most interesting bit, right? So we've got problem, here's a solution, here are examples of this kind of solution. Final sentence, counselors need to provide students with more resources in order to help them make a more informed decision about what college to attend. How does this sentence relate to what came before? Well, the fact that students need more and they need to make a more informed decision suggests that the status quo, or what most counselors are doing, isn't enough. So giving assessments and college brochures isn't enough. So there's a contrast here. If you're saying like, here's blah, 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 setting it up, but that's not enough, the but here is putting emphasis on something. So you'd have to put but or however to signal a sort of change in direction or a contrast between what you're saying now and what you were just saying. Okay, and your final step is to reread the passage and assess how much work you have to do as a reader. Now, because you just spent a bunch of time looking at this passage and you're the one who wrote it, now it's going to feel really familiar and easy to read for you. So it's hard to objectively assess how much easier it is. But perhaps you could give it to somebody else, or I guess just try to convince yourself that it's true. Imagine giving these two side by side to someone else and just asking them for their readability, or you could be extra careful and scientific about it and give different groups different passages and see how their ratings compare. The point being is, intuitively, you have to do a lot less work as a reader to follow the progression of ideas in this version of the passage. Okay, if you're interested in more practice on transition words, there are resources in our resources section. So I believe transition words are covered in 11 here, but some of the best resources on this are the 3 videos at the bottom of the writing resources page on different kinds of transitions with examples. You could also just Google sentence level transitions to get lots of helpful resources on identifying relationships and the kinds of phrases you can do to express those relationships.